When I first started flying, I flew with one of these, which is a 2-inch cine whoop, and everyone in the comment section said, wait until you try 5 inches. So today I thought I'd take this out for the first time. It's a GEPRC Mark5, 5-inch freestyle quad. Let's see what happens.
No way.
Okay. Now I will say, when I got into FPV, my thought process was I'm going to get those amazing cruisy cinematic shots where I'm flying down a mountain or I'm cruising along a beachfront with the waves splashing up all around me. But as soon as I started flying, something changed. And then I couldn't resist. I had to start like throwing it around a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. Now let me be clear, I'm still a beginner in this, so I am not that great at freestyle, but I really enjoy it. And I've taken both this and my Cinewhoop all over the world on my travels just to like have a kind of mix of the two. This is great, but it does get carried away by the wind, and it is a little bit twitchy because of how small it is, but it is pretty quick. It's pretty powerful. I like it a lot. So I wanted to try a 5-inch quad now because at the end of the year, the drone rules change here in Switzerland. And that means that there are extra restrictions for flying drones over 250 grams. So the idea of flying a 5-inch now is to, one, get the feel of it and see if I like it. And then secondly, whether I want to go through all of that extra stuff in order to be able to fly one. So this was the plan. I do my research, I order a 5-inch quad, I train on the sim, the quad arrives, head out to my local park, whip out my 5-inch and fly like an FPV freestyle god. So I do my research on 5-inch quads and I settle for the GEPRC Mark5. And whilst waiting for that delivery, I started to train in the sim with a 5-inch drone. So my Mark5 arrives, and I don't think I realized just how big a 5-inch quad would be. But look at it, in comparison to what I had been used to flying, this thing was absolutely huge. And I realized that this was something a little bit more serious than I'd given it credit for. So I spent more time in the simulator, not just on Velocidrone. I tried Trip, I tried Liftoff, I even went as far as the DRL racing simulator. So time to fly, right? Well, not quite. I needed a spotter that was available at the same time as me, and also the weather to not be awful on that same day. And this just wasn't happening. On the days that both I and my spotter were available, the weather was terrible, like every single weekend that we had free to do this. And before I knew it, it was snow season. By the time the snow had melted, my GEPRC Mark5 had been sitting there for months. But now there was a bigger problem with my plan. The rule change here in Switzerland happened earlier in January 2023. This 5-inch quad was now in a different category, and as a result, there are more specific requirements for flying one. This was the new plan. Get insured and registered to fly a bigger class of quad. Do the required training and pass all of the exams. Get my license. Head to the local park and fly like an FPV freestyle god. Getting registered and insured was easy, and actually the training wasn't so bad. I passed my exam the first time and I even learned something through that process. All of the areas that I've been flying my micro quads in were just not a viable option for using this 5-inch for the first time. I had to find a new location, so I went back to the drawing board and started to research other places that could be a good option. And then I found somewhere. This was a long way out of the city. It was away from people, it had huge fields. So as the legend goes, I whipped out my 5-inch and sent it like an FPV god. Yeah, okay, so I'd love to end the video there and say that was exactly what was true, but in reality, this is what happened. Ready to launch. Here we go. Holy sh! That went quick. So I'm going to do a little voiceover here because I actually forgot to talk a lot during this first flight. I think I was a little bit too excited, so aside from me going woo and yeah, there's not really much else that I was kind of saying, but you can see from the video that I was struggling with throttle control. And yes, I have Expo on this and I might just need to get used to this a little bit more, but I started to do what I call tracing. Now I don't know if there's an official FPV term for this. If there is, let me know in the comments. But I follow some of the pathways to try and see how close to the ground I can get that, and then see if I can start to refine my throttle control that way. And then I started flinging the drone up in the air, and I didn't really understand what people were talking about flingability with a 5-inch was before, but now I really get it. The throttle punch as you hit it up in the air is incredible, and it just kind of hangs there as well. So I had a lot of fun just throwing this up in the air, spinning around, and it felt like you had loads and loads of time to kind of correct, do what you need to do, come down, and then there was enough power to kind of get you back up in the air again. This was so much fun. I thought, you know what, let me see what I can do with a yaw spin, and smacked it straight into the floor. But this carried on going like nothing had happened. So I tried again, and it seemed a little bit easier. Still a lot more work to do on those. And in order to become a freestyle FPV god like I wanted, one of the tricks that you have to do is an orbit. Now, if you've come from DJI drones like I did, an orbit is a really easy thing on a DJI drone. You just kind of tell it to do it and it does it around you. Doing this in FPV and making it look good is not so easy. However, I did kind of have like a breakthrough for one moment where I declared, FPV God.
You're going to see me on the video crouching. And that is out of shot. Okay.
My landing needs work still. At least I know how to land now though. Whew, that is amazing. It's amazing.
First flight reaction?
That was a lot more powerful than I thought it was going to be. I literally touched the throttle and it just went whoosh, which was cool. But it also it like hangs. And I thought that was just kind of like a simulator thing, but no, it's pretty cool. It just kind of hangs up in the air so I can like move around and stuff. So at the beginning of this, I wanted to know why people were so excited about flying 5-inch quads. And I think throughout this process, I really understand it now. Firstly, the power is incredible. The fact that you can fling this around and throw it upside down, and the amount of hang time that allows you to think about what your next movement is, plus it doesn't get carried away by the wind, is absolutely incredible. In my first flight, I hit the floor a few times. It didn't flip over, it just kind of bounced off the floor and then carried on going. The feeling is so different, I can't really put it into words. And sure, I need more practice with this to get used to how it handles and everything else as well, and become a better pilot with it. But if I could fly this every day over my micro quads, I would. It was that much more fun. And that's the biggest downside for me. To fly this, I'm going to have a spotter. I've got to go outside of the city, which is going to take a lot of time, which just means that I'm not going to be able to fly this as much as I really want to. I guess the big issue for me now is that now that I've experienced that, going back to my micro quads, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. I haven't flown them since that first flight of the 5-inch. What I'd really like to do is find something at a sub 250 that allows me to have the same kind of feeling. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any good options for a sub 250 drone that feels a bit more like a 5-inch freestyle drone. Bonus points if it can take an O3 air unit as well. In the meantime, I'm probably going to be building one of these. I always said that I wouldn't build my own quad, but watching Murder's FPV throw this thing around, I really wanted to try it. So this will be coming up in a future video.